Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you? How's things? How's life? I really want to know. Like, I need to hear about somebody else's life because mine has been my focus for I don't know. I've been internalizing a lot lately, and I'm not a fan of when I internalize. There's a lot that goes on in my head, and I second guess myself a lot, and life gets in the way, and all that sort of stuff happens, and it's frustrating. So I want to hear from you. This whole book writing idea is becoming extremely frustrating for me. I have this whole plot that I want to explore, and it's this really fun plot in my mind. But unfortunately, the more I write it out and the more I talk with my mentor Scott and such, I realize that the plot itself is like, it doesn't matter. It's meaningless. And finding a character in that plot to tell the story from is also, to me, meaningless. Like, I just don't give a damn. Like, there aren't any characters that matter in this story to me, and so trying to take that, like, let's pick the hero's journey or let's pick the lover's quarrel and inject it into this story doesn't make sense to me. It's like the complete opposite of making sense to me, and I can't get my head around the idea that the character and the story are tied together. I mean, I get that. I understand that I have a character. I know this character pretty well, and I have a reason for him to exist, and I have a reason for him to go on the journey that he's going to go on, and I have a reason for him to discover, and I know what he's going to discover, and I know how that all ends. The problem is all of that is just plot. All that is just has nothing to do with the character, and I think that's because in my mind, this character is just that's what excites him. What excites him is going on the adventure. What he is interested in is figuring this whole thing out. And ultimately, by the end of the book, he wants to be the hero. But that's it. Like, not for any reason. Not because he's special needs and has been told he's useless, or not because he doesn't have a big character flaw or whatever. He's just a person, like a normal average Joe, who just kind of ends up on this quest by accident, or ultimately by design, but by accident. And so finding a reason for this guy to do these things, finding a motivation for him and pushing him along, figuring out a way to make it difficult for him and hurt him and tell the compelling story, the standard, like, person overcomes their whatever to go on this adventure and gets just beat in the face, and then they have to really push through that to survive, and everybody at the end cheers. It's really hard because that's not how the story works out, and man, I knew this was going to be a tough process, and I'm really glad that I have spent the last 2 months just thinking about this book, because if I would have started to write it, I could have wasted a lot of hours writing completely useless material, and I think that's what would have happened. I think I would have ended up telling a story, but the story would have been the story of this world, not the story of this character, and the story of this world is not interesting. There's no reason for anybody to read it. I think that to get somebody to read, there has to be a character that the person can associate with, and there has to be a reason to empathize with that character, or to maybe hate that character and you just want to see them get crushed or whatever. But I'm having a really hard time finding the character. I mean, like I said, that's not the truth. I know the character very well. I have all of his thoughts and motivations in my head. The problem is, what interests me is not interesting. That whole personal journey thing is not. There's no way to write that in an interesting way. I I can't sit down and write a piece where the character is just constantly being moody and thinking to himself, and that'd be any form of entertaining for the reader. So I spoke a lot with Scott today, quite a bit. I told him quite a bit, and I think that I'm going to scrap the kind of thinky parts and just make this kind of an action adventure story. I think I can still tell the history, the plot that I want to tell. I think I can still convey the world building that I want to convey, because ultimately that's what this book is. This book is a setup for something to come. If it ever happens, I don't know. So on its own, though, as a standalone book, as something that you would just pick up and read, that story, that setup is useless. Like, okay, sure, it's just a dystopian world. Okay, I don't care, right? Like, so in my mind, that's really big and important, because that really sets the stage for future stuff. But this isn't going to be a series. This isn't some sort of ongoing character or anything like that. So telling the story, telling a world building story for a world that doesn't exist, who gives a damn? Like, that's not interesting at all, and I know that. So I think that I was going to, I want, that's the part of that's the point of this book for me. The point of this book for me is to tell how we got to this point, right? How we, meaning collectively as a whole, got to this point. And I realize I have to tell that through a character. And so I can't tell that until I have a character, and I have an interesting character, and I have an arc for that character, and I know that that character is going to go through some trials and tribulations, and I have to figure out what those trials and tribulations are so that I can tell that story. Originally, I was going to do this whole like mystery, he finds these clues and he goes, but I think that's all just thinky garbage. Like, I can't spend time showing a character Googling stuff. That's not interesting. So I think I'm gonna not scrap it. I'm not scrapping it. I think I'm just going to start over. I think I'm going to go back to reading Scott's first book, the story pitch book, and redo all of that, and redo this whole second book, which is the outlining your story, and just start over with a more concrete idea of who this character is and build the story from there. So we'll see how that works. But I'm frustrated. It's really frustrating. But I am extremely happy that I didn't just dive in to try to write a book that would have just sucked. I don't want to write a book that sucks. At worst, I want to write a book that people read and go, that was fun, but that's it. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing people. Thank you for being encouraging. Everybody here always encourages me, and that means a lot to me. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you very, very much. And I hope to see you again tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from marblegranites.com. How much does a square foot of granite weigh? The weight of granite depends on the density. The average 3/4 inch thick granite weighs 13 pounds per square foot. 1 1/4 inch weighs about 18 to 20 pounds per square foot, and 2 inch is about 30 pounds per square foot. That's heavy.